Do you own a John Deere 200 series garden tractor dated between 1975 and 1987? Do you feel like you're forever working on the motor, like setting the points, cleaning the spark plug? Are you always messing with the carburetor, adjusting the valve lash? Does your tractor knock, leak oil, or blow white smoke? Have you ever had to replace valve guides, head gaskets, balance gears, or completely rebuild the engine only to have it break down again and again? Is the iSafe Tractors website front and center on your phone's home screen? Are you tired of endlessly throwing money at it? Not like that. Make it rain. If you can relate to any of these issues regarding your aging John Deere tractor, we have a solution for you. Stay tuned for the following video where we are going to show you how to repower your John Deere 200 series garden tractor with anything but a Kohler. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jason.
I'm Stefan.
This is Tennessee Mountain Homestead, and today we're back out in the shop and we're going to be working on Stefan's 1983 John Deere 212, repowering it with a Predator 420. Stefan bought this tractor from a gentleman down in Alabama about 8 months ago, and that guy did a bunch of work to this thing. There's obviously a new piston in it, there's a new carburetor, but I think it's an eBay carburetor, a new fuel pump, and since Stefan's had it, we've taken a bunch of parts off other engines around here to replace points, condenser, coil. It's just given us a whole bunch of issues, and recently it started burning oil really bad, blowing a lot of thick white smoke out of the exhaust pipe. So after weighing all our options, we figured that going with a new, lightweight, modern motor is the way to go. So the biggest obstacle with repowering one of these John Deere tractors is the fact that the motors are not sitting on a flat plate like any typical other tractor is. They have this isolated engine mount set up where the motor is suspended inside the engine bay. That's the first obstacle. The second biggest obstacle is these tractors have a variator system, which they have two belts. They've got an engine belt and a secondary belt, and they have a variable drive pulley in the center. So the new motor needs to be perfectly located in the engine compartment, or else it won't work right with the stock variator system. The first thing we're gonna do is build a jig and locate where the crankshaft is, first and foremost, so that we can get the other engine perfectly set up in here. Stefan already started taking the motor apart a couple days ago to figure out why it's smoking. That's why the head's missing and stuff off of it. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and take off the heat shield, the muffler, and anything else we can on this side of the motor so that we can make room to build our jig to locate the crankshaft, and also we're gonna take off the crankshaft pulley. Let's get into it. We got the crankshaft off this thing. We're gonna take a 1-inch shaft collar. I've already removed the finish. We're gonna put it on the crankshaft all the way till it stops, just like that. We're gonna drill and tap a couple holes on each side of the frame here. We're gonna put some bar stock and either bend it around to come contact the shaft collar, or just cut it till it sticks out and then weld pieces over to here. Whatever we can do, I'd rather bend it, but we'll see. What that's gonna do is locate this shaft collar exactly here in space once the engine's out. The idea is to take the same jig with the new motor, set the new motor down in here with the engine hoist, slide the jig over the crankshaft of it, and bolt it back into place. That way it'll be hanging and positioned exactly where it needs to be so that it doesn't interfere with the way the pulley works and the variator. After that's done, we're gonna fabricate an engine plate for that thing. More in a minute. Check this out. I've got my first piece of bar stock bent. This hole was already drilled and tapped in the frame for the hood mount or the hood support. And I'm gonna go ahead and tack weld this to the shaft collar right now. Then after it's welded, I'm gonna come back and drill another hole right through this and through the frame at the same time, and I'm gonna tap that out. That way it's bolted in two places so it can't move. Then I'm gonna strengthen this back by gusseting from here back to here with another piece of stock or whatever I've got, sheet metal, to make this nice and stout. After that, we're gonna come off of this side and do the same thing from this side. That way, that shaft collar will be located, it'll be supported, it'll be nice and strong for when we put our new Predator engine in. Now that I've got two different supports coming from each side of the crankshaft, they're tack welded to the shaft collar, they're bolted to the frame. What I'm gonna do next is throw a couple gussets. This side of the gusset is gonna be as close to the bolt as I can get it without interfering, so I can get the bolt off. I'm gonna cut it just like that. And this side, I'm gonna cut just like this. And that way I'll be able to come in here and weld each of those. I wanna do all my welding that I can on the mower when everything's fixed and being held by the engine and by the frame, so that because if I was to weld this up on the bench, there's a chance it could warp and move. my jig all fabricated out. I don't know how much further I really need to take this thing. I'm not going to depend on this to hold the weight of the engine straight out. The new engine's gonna be supported by the engine hoist. This is only gonna locate it. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbolt this, and then we're gonna take the rest of this engine completely out of here. Out of the way, Stefan's going to continue and take off these engine mount plates. As you can see, what we were talking about in the beginning, these plates are mounted to the frame using rubber isolators. On some models, this goes all the way across, it's one piece. This one happens to be a two-piece. So those are going to go away. We're also going to take out the seat pan because we have to take off the stock gas tank. It's got gas in it, and there's a fuel line coming up here to the front. We've got it pinched off for now, but that needs to go away because check this out. We're gonna put the Predator 420 in there as is. We're using the stock fuel tank on this Predator. It'll fit under the hood, it'll be okay. I also need to remove this key switch, and we're gonna relocate the key switch, the starter switch, over to the stock place in the John Deere, and there's a circuit breaker in here, that's all there is. So I'm gonna take this off. Whatever connectors are plugged into the back will be hanging for now until we relocate it. We might have to extend the wires, we'll see. But right now, I'm gonna go ahead and start taking this apart. Stefan's gonna take that apart. We'll see you in a minute. tank out, as you can see, and Stefan is currently taking out all the wiring. So we don't need the starter solenoid, we don't need the key switch, we don't need the PTO switch, we don't need any of it, because this tractor is only for pulling stuff and using the front blade scoop. It's never gonna have a mower deck on it again. So all the stock wiring is gone. It's gonna have a battery. There's gonna be one wire from the battery to the starter solenoid on the motor. Then there's gonna be another wire coming off the battery post or the starter post going to a fuse block with a couple circuits, and that's how he'll run his headlights and whatever else he has on here. If you're trying to put one of these motors or another motor similar to this in your John Deere and you want to keep all the factory wiring, what you'd have to do is remove, like I did, the key switch from the Predator motor. This just has the start circuit. When you turn it to start, this is what energizes the relay. This is your battery wire for the hot, and then one of these is the kill for the coil, and the other two are for the charging circuit. Now, what you would have to do is eliminate your starter solenoid from the John Deere, and you'd have to put the battery straight to this terminal here, and you'd have to put your start circuit to this terminal here in place of the key switch for the Predator. Now, this wire harness has been hacked a little bit, but it's got an auxiliary contact here, and one of these is for the seat safety switch, this purple wire here. So all that has to be closed out in the field. The seat safety switch has to be closed or open, whatever the case may be. I don't know what normally open or closed position it's in, but that would have to be incorporated. You might want to leave your auxiliary contact. So you'd have to incorporate your stock wiring harness into this motor and intercept these wires, like the charging circuit, the kill circuit for the coil coming out right here. You'd have to extend that and have it go over to the ground on the key switch. So that's not what this video is about. This video is about how to mount the engine in the chassis, and every motor is going to be a little bit different anyway, so I can't possibly cover how to wire it in, but we're doing it this way. We don't need any of this stuff anymore. Next thing we got to do is get this thing slung up on the engine hoist and lower it down into the engine bay. Now, these Predator 420s don't come with a lifting eye, so what I did was I took out these two little bolts, put some tie wire around them, made a loop, and I came around on this side, on the bottom of the cylinder head here on the heat shield or the shroud, there's another bolt. I put some tie wire around that, brought it up here, made a loop, tied them together. Now I basically have a carry handle. So it actually is pretty balanced. Hangs nice and even. That'll give us a good way to grab here with the hook and lower it down in there, and then put our piece that we made earlier over the shaft, over the crankshaft, just like that. And that's gonna locate our engine. So while we get that slung up, we also need to come up with a piece of steel for an engine plate. And we have some scrap steel out in the barnyard. We're gonna go look and see what's going on with that. This is the piece of steel we have to work with. It's a piece of crane rigging that they used to set a big generator down in Florida on a job I was on. So this happens to be 3/16 plate. I'm gonna cut the piece we need out of here. We've got our piece of steel cut out. We're back over here trying to figure out how big it actually needs to be cut down to. So I figure off of that frame rail on that side, I'm gonna come over here about 9 inches. So the plate needs to be 9 by 14 3/8. Because I took a straight edge here, put it on the bottom of the motor, and it touches the bottom of this cross member. Now that's exactly how my tractor came out. I ended up welding my engine plate to this cross member. It just so happens that's how this one's gonna be too. And we're gonna pull the motor back out of here, or jack it up and move it, and we're gonna cut that plate out to fit. It's going to be just touching the bottom of this cross member, and then we're gonna make it level with the frame, and wherever it touches up on the front here is where we're gonna tack weld it. After it's tacked, we're gonna set the motor back in on it, put our jig back on, and go from there. I've got my piece of steel cut out. It's 9.5 inches wide by 14 3/8 long. And I had to make a notch here for the axle support. If you come over here and check this out, that's what that notch is for right here. It's gonna sit just on top of this, right about where the tape measure is. So we're gonna get that cut out. We're gonna get it just tacked in here with a few little tack welds. Set the motor in there, see if the jig likes it. If it does, we're gonna fully weld it out. Got the engine plate all cut out, cleaned up, and it fits in here just like this. So we already had a level on the frame. Everything checks out, it looks good. The engine plate's level when it's pushed up against this bar and sitting on here like it is. Next thing we're gonna do, Stefan's gonna clean the paint right along the frame here, right here, here and all along this back bar. That way we can buzz it in. We're not gonna kill it first. We're not gonna turn the welder all the way up to kill mode. We're just gonna buzz it in a few spots so we can cut it if we have to. Because we gotta buzz this thing in there and set the motor on it, put our jig back on and see how close it is. All right, moment of truth, here we go. We're gonna tack it in and then see if the engine fits. So we had a little bit of a clearance issue with the gas tank hitting right on that spot, and Stefan's about to cut that out where that black square is. Quick update. So currently Stefan is marking out the holes with the sawed off Sharpie method. And another thing we had to do was take a straight edge and cut this panel all the way down because it used to come out and bulge out like a triangle right about where the edge of the gas tank is here. So it was hitting the gas tank and then it was touching up here also. So we just cut that off about 1/4 or 3/8 inch back all the way down. No issue there. And once he's finished marking out the holes, we're gonna go ahead, pull this thing back off, drill the holes, bolt it down, put the pulley on it, see what that looks like.
Left the big city for the simple country life. Found myself a woman that it took for me to be my wife. I was working on the ground come the sun up to sundown. Hey, I'm trying to make a reputation for a man inside this town. Hard as I try, maybe I just can't. I ain't no up and kinda leaving me. She kissed me one time and she took my heart. Baby, you can love me, you can leave me, I'm a honky-tonk star. Yeah, I'm a honky-tonk star. Well, working 3 jobs, living out of a car. Mama never told me life would get this hard. Running around the world playing my guitar. Baby, you can love me, you can leave me, I'm a honky-tonk star. Yeah, I'm a honky-tonk star.
All right, so we got the holes drilled and we like everything where it's sitting. I'm gonna go and weld along the bottom of this bar and then in the front on the frame.
Leave a woman ain't nothing but a thing to me. Burn right through them like a cigarette or a line of cocaine on a private jet. I give them good loving like they won't forget. Baby, good Lord knows what time it is. Hard as I try, maybe I just can't. I ain't no up and kinda leaving me. She kissed me one time and she took my heart. Baby, you can love me, you can leave me, I'm a honky-tonk star. Well, working 3 jobs, living out of a car. Mama never told me life would get this hard. Running around the world playing my guitar. Baby, you can love me, you can leave me, I'm a honky-tonk star. Yeah, I'm a honky-tonk star. I'm a honky-tonk star. Lord, I'm a honky-tonk star.
a little bit of extra strength, obviously we picked this thing straight up and we buzzed it, stitch welded it right along the bottom. I tried to weld in between where I welded it on top, and then I snuck up in here and got the back side of the plate up against the frame. So the engine's all bolted down and we put the pulley on it. It's just sitting on the crankshaft right now with the belt, but it looks fantastic. The belt's got tension like it should, like it did before with the other motor, and everything turns free. Well, it's on the compression stroke, but it turns, okay? So what we're gonna do next is we wanna take this thing for a test ride. We're going to put the key switch on it, put a battery in it, and just crank it up. We gotta put gas and oil in it. But we're gonna take this thing outside and see what it does. So it's been about an hour or so. We got everything put back together. Now, we temporarily have the key switch tie wired up here. We left the strap on the motor. We've got the pulley on here. We've got a shaft collar holding that on. The keyway's in it. We've got oil in it. We just put some gas in it. Now we're gonna go ahead and fire this thing up. We're gonna pull start it. There ain't no battery in it. So we're gonna pull start it and go test it out. So as you just saw, Stefan took this thing out in the barnyard. It works great. Everything's working properly on it. The variator, the gears, everything. So we still have a ton of work to do on this thing. We got to put the body panels back on, and that's going to take some fitment. So if you have a 200 series and you want to go ahead and duplicate something like this, you might want to stay tuned for the next episode because we're going to call this a video. The engine's mounted, it's working, it drives under its own power. That's what it's all about. So if you guys found this content entertaining, informative, or both, please don't hesitate to like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'm Jason.
I'm Jace.
I'm Stefan.
This is Tennessee Mountain Homestead, and we'll see you on the next one.